It's now happening. It's all happening. Look out. It's all happening. Can you hear us? Hopefully you can hear us. I'm heading there to look at comments. I'm very excited about comments.
Slow mode.
Okay.
Slow mode.
I gotta find it. Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Don't know.
Can you hear us? Checkity, check.
We're here, but there's not a lot happening. Okay. Wait, I see some stuff.
Yes, is the answer, John.
I need to get back to
Richard. Thank you.
Yep, I need to get back to where I can see it on this guy, so I'm not looking at two computers at once because that's a little bit beyond me.
Jordan,
as good as I might be, two computers is officially too much.
Oh, Jordan says, "Hey, where are all my SF90s fans at?" Right.
Yeah. Oh well, that's a spoiler alert right there. That's bad news. Yeah.
Jordan's just gonna make me.
He wants to make you rant.
That's
what he wants to make you do.
About
Ferraris for sure.
SF90s. All right, hit it when you're ready.
Yeah, we're serious now. It's going to happen.
Barbara, good evening. Thank you for the response.
I have extra mice. I have lots of computers.
Right.
I don't think my phone's going to bother me.
Hopefully not.
I think I'm
silent.
Ready. So, hi, everybody. Hang on. Here we go. What is it? Tuesday? Hi. Happy Tuesday to those of you actually listening to this. Happy Monday night to those of you watching live. We are live on TestDriveVideos channel. We do this every 25 episodes. We are back with another all live podcast, which means we take your questions as they happen. It's a lot of reading, but it's pretty awesome. And we're back with more madness on the tail end of Monterey.
Yeah.
And a bunch of stuff coming out for us soon. Yeah.
Although I did notice that all of our prior thumbnails had the shirt that I wore previously is now relegated to the table, and Todd's hair length is different.
Just keeps changing. Yes, absolutely. It's a whole thing we do. Yeah.
But guys, thank you for posting up your questions. We've got a few over on our social media platforms, but please post up your live questions for us. Love chatting about it. I say we dive right into Monterey. We were not there this year. We would love to go. Lots of stuff dropping, including the Lamborghini Lanzador. Did I mispronounce that? Lamzador? What was that?
It's a thing.
Somebody I don't know who that is for.
Somebody had well, hang on. It's going to be fine. It's going to be just fine. Because the X6 exists, the X6M exists, and the Porsche Cayenne Coupe Turbo exists.
Yeah.
This is for them.
Larger, bigger door.
It's for them.
I guess is.
It's for the segment that has A, crazy money, B, wants to drive a sports car but doesn't want to sit low, which there's an equal sign there, just so you know. But they don't want to do that, so that's what's happening. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on.
I love it. Well, we have not discussed the Mustang that was announced. It's kind of old news as quickly as the car news world moves.
Especially at Monterey. Yeah.
I was just reading a little bit more about it. And if you have not taken the time to inspect all the stats for the GTD Mustang that was released as a 2025 model, I was noticing that the front tire width is 325 millimeters. The rears are 345s. 325s were on the back of the GLS 63. And that was wide. That's supercar wide. Those are on the fronts of the Mustang. 345s on the rear. I am astounded.
Well, you broached the subject of who is this for. I feel this way about the Mustang because it doesn't actually work as a race car.
People that just want to set ring records.
But it doesn't actually work as a race car. It doesn't work
Porsche
for that classification.
Ford.
Yes, it's not actually a Mustang that most people are ever going to drive. This is a collection car, $300,000 Mustang
that nobody will drive.
Isn't the point of the Mustang to be somewhat accessible? Isn't the point of the Mustang to be a car you can drive?
It's to crash into light poles when you leave a Cars and Coffee.
There is that. Totally forgot about that. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I just.
Okay, we'll take a break from Monterey for the moment. I do want to come back to Ken Okiyama's birdcage concept, the Code 61, which I find rather intriguing. It also uses the Maserati MC20 wheels, but you got to do what you got to do. So let's come back to that in just a moment. Let's dive into questions. Mark in Ohio, Vampire Bear 13, thank you for writing. Really appreciate it. And let's see here. If a car guy buys a Tonale, is it quirky enough to check off the I owned an Alfa Romeo credential? From Richard writing, the Tonale just came out on our test drive channel. As you could see, is it quirky enough? It's too mainstream, but by virtue of the styling and the badge itself, I think it's a pass. I think.
Well, it was an Alfa first, not a Dodge first. This is Alfa wanted to make a 5-seat CUV, to my understanding, and then Dodge makes their variant off of what Alfa's creating. So it's not the other way around. If it was a Dodge first and then Alfa made a product, I'd feel differently
fair
about
enough.
it. So because
All
of
right.
that, it's an Alfa first. I'll take it, even though. Yeah, it's 5-seat CUV land, which everyone has. That's not very unique, but Alfa needs one, so they're doing it apparently. I mean, I would say Julia or 4C definitely check that box.
4C
Tonal
sure,
is on the. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah,
it's like if you want to share that my first Alpha kind of thing, or I'm really a true car enthusiast.
Alpha.
I know.
I've got my first Sony, and here's my first Alpha. Here it is.
But that's the problem with most people. That's what Alfa wants. That will bring people to the brand because they need a 5-seat SUV. The Roadster and the sedan just don't work. They're too small. But a 5-seat SUV, I can check my credentials off and get a family 5-seat SUV all at the same time. So I guess there you go. I guess the answer is yes.
We'll see.
To my chagrin.
When I brake, the steering wheel shakes uncontrollably on my 4Runner and shakes the entire car. Did you hear the last podcast?
Yes.
Yeah, we had a bit of a rant on that. Get that checked. Those rotors are done.
I've got some questions over here on Facebook that we were talking about. Pat L is asking again about the Mustang GTD. Should we give Ford points for all the crazy? Wouldn't we all rather that they actually build cars versus SUVs, UVs, and pickups? I do wish that a bit more caution would have been taken, but sometimes CEOs just decide to rip the Band-Aid and go for it. And that's what's happened at Ford, because no longer are they the company that builds a performance product at every category, at every price point for all of us enthusiasts. They used to. They were leading the way, and then they completely trashed that business model and went a different direction. But they're building interesting things. I'm just fascinated that they're all in on the extreme end for the Mustang and all in for the Mach-E and building the Blue Oval City in Tennessee.
I mean, the reality is here, and I cannot believe this is the place we're at, but the reality is the cat is out of the bag, and all of these car makers understand that if they sell something to the extreme end of buyers, the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars, and they make them limited edition.
At Monterey Car Week.
Yes, but they can also charge whatever they want. Nobody's sitting down with a calculator going, what does this cost and what's the markup? Who cares?
We marked up that carbon fiber drive shaft like crazy.
Who cares? That's the thing.
Yeah.
So they're going to make limited edition. They can actually make more profit per unit doing this madness than doing anything else. And we've seen before that Ford's struggle is the Mustang is to them what the Corvette is to Chevy. Okay. It is a definitive moment in the company. It is a defining name for the company. I mean, frankly, Camaro is not that for Chevy, but Corvette is.
Okay. Yeah, very.
So they have to keep the Mustang name going. They can kill all the other stuff, but Ford and Mustang, Ford F-150 and Mustang, that's what we know. So they got to keep it going. But the Mustang program always costs them a fortune to redo, and they struggle to make its money back when if they just release a new F-150, it'll just print cash. So this is the flip side of that thinking for the Mustang. Let's sell a $300,000 version that, let's just say for sake of argument, it cost them $200,000 a car. I'm not good at math, but that's a better upswing. So they'll do this ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
And they won't sell a really good one. I hate to say this, but where's the really great Mustang that competes with the 86 at $34,000? I'd like that Mustang to exist and be awesome.
I'd like the lightweight driver focused T, the T version of everything. Corvette T, Mustang T, Cayman T.
But the problem is that's not going to exist. And they're leaning into cars are allowed to be heavier, cars can be more extreme. So you end up with the dark horse and then this madness. And I'm looking for the one. I'm honestly looking for the one that competes with the 86 at $35,000.
Yeah, and I want the Mustang to shrink in size. Still, it's too big. It's still too big. Too much car.
The first Mustang, not the second Mustang, not the Mustang 2. The first Mustang was not actually a very big car in its time. Now, the Mustang 2 was trying to be a compact, and that was a disaster, as we've all seen. But the first Mustang was not that big. What if the new Mustang were smaller? Now, I'm sure there are people that are going to yell, but I guess this is my thinking. If you're going to kill the V8, which they already have, but if you're really going to kill the V8, then what's it matter if it's big or not? Because all the people are going to have pitchforks out about the fact that the V8's not available. So let's just make it a smaller car.
Okay. I love it. Yes. We've got Caleb F from Miami, listening and watching from Miami. Caleb, thank you so much for jumping on. Really appreciate it. And let's see, we've got driving music from Anthony G. What is some unexpected driving music? I saw your question last time around, Anthony. And Anthony found himself listening to instrumental Disney covers of all things. Turns out there's something rather uplifting while carving through traffic to a whole new world.
It is a whole new world, isn't it?
That's hilarious.
When you get really stressed, you're to stop and go, and you're listening to Let It Go. It's just you're feeling.
You got to be really quick on the jump button.
Yeah.
I admit to I Am a Man of Constant Sorrow, sung by the Soggy Bottom Boys. From Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? That's something you can just listen to on an endless loop.
Never done
and
that.
You're just cruising, and it's just endless. And you got a canyon road.
Okay.
And you're singing along, and that's unexpected. Okay.
Jordan says a whole new world does not work if you're driving the Jeep Wrangler 392. We actually have a piece coming on that. That just showed up, and that is simultaneously the greatest Wrangler ever and the most stupid thing on wheels. It is like both. Completely merged. Yes. I can't wait to share that. It's gonna be funny. Yeah.
See, Andrew P asks, what's our favorite Buc-ee's food or snack? Andrew plans to stop by one or two when he goes to Tail Dragon in October. I think you should. The beaver nuts, I think, are
easy
part of this snack.
Easy, yeah.
And also there's a wall of jerky. But best of all is the Arnold Palmer is pre-mixed. So there is that.
They do have a ridiculous number of beverages.
The sandwiches and the potato chips are like home-cooked kettle chips. They're really great.
They offer you no place to sit. That's one of the things I thought was interesting. Unless it's the Thrones. They have a ton of restrooms.
Sorry, Beaver Nuggets.
They have a ton of restrooms for you to sit, but they have nowhere to actually because you just bought food and there's nowhere to sit. They want you to go. Yeah, I've noticed that as well. Anyway.
Aaron, thank you for the correction. Much appreciated. Aaron just participated with his car in our recent film. That's going to be a big one coming out in 6 weeks or so, called The Price of Fun that we've talked about. Aaron generously gave us his car, his 911T. And that's why I want to tee the world. I want to tee all the sports cars. Okay. Can you imagine GR86T?
It's already light.
That one gets a
pass. That one gets a pass. It's already light. Deal with all the stuff over 3,200 pounds and leave that one alone. Yeah. That's all bad. Eric is asking a question along those lines. He says cars like the Monte Carlo, Thunderbird, Cougar. By the way, lots of really great names in the Ford portfolio. They don't exist anymore. What cars fill that two-door personal coupe space? There's not many. The 86 is one, 2+2. The 2 Series BMW is one. The CLA Mercedes is one, even though it's actually 4 doors, but that back seat is kind of like it's a 2+2. This is kind of the best we're doing. The Miata, of course, is only a 2-seater, but as far as like affordable 2-door second car, we're having trouble that are affordable. You can go to the Supra, but that's 50, 60 grand. So where's the line of affordability? The 86 and the Miata are almost on their own.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm looking at a question here from Brad R, who's asking if we believe there's a car that can cure that disease.
Cure the car disease? No.
Do you want a car that can cure the disease, though? Do we ever want to be cured of this? Because there will always be new cars coming out. I am actually super encouraged by the brand new Mercedes AMG GT. They are channeling 928s.
It looks good.
It looks
I really like the look of it. I have to
it's
say,
a 2+2 gobs of power. It hit me right in the feels. I am looking at this thing. That is the modern 928, also from Stuttgart.
Okay, all right.
2+2 with all the power. It looks great. I think I have to own one.
Have you noticed how similar it looks from the front axle back to the side of the 86 and BRZ?
Oh, going forward?
No. Going back from the front axle back down the side.
Really? Because I was
got
just
a similar side
911.
cut. Well, of course, it's competing with a 911. No. Just from the front axle back to like from just past the front fascia.
Okay.
Working backwards. That side of that car looks quite a bit like the 86
body side. I was thinking
BRZ.
The profile is more.
No. The profile is definitely
911.
Yes.
I mean,
911, 928. They
911
absolutely
has infected their neighbors
Yes.
across town.
Absolutely true. Yep.
I am in love with that thing. I'm reading all the specs. I'm watching Lewis Hamilton drifted on the little promotional video, and there's a lot of jump cuts and drone music and high energy music, and the car is just sort of like doop de doop de doo puttering around. It's not like hardcore slidey sideways because there's probably only one of them so far.
But here's the other part of it. no one out there is debating if Lewis Hamilton can drive. We know he can drive. We know he can drive very
Absolutely.
fast. He's one of the best drivers in the world.
Totally.
Unless you are driving, I hate to say this, slowly, in slow motion, sideways, spitting smoke, the audience doesn't think it's fast. And making a car look fast on camera, you've got to be going well over 80 miles an hour.
No, you just add really high energy music
and create more cuts
and slow it down and jump cut, and the drone just goes right overhead and you can't. What was the car actually doing? I can't really tell.
Or you do the Fast and Furious trick and you just speed it all up, which is even worse. Jorge is asking, thank you for the super chat. He is asking which hot shoe car executive should take Jim Farley up on his dare to race him in the new Mustang. And I've wondered about this. So this GTD exists, and Jim Farley has said he will race any other exec with him in the new Mustang. And I have two questions. First off, and I am not, honestly, I am not throwing shade here. Is Jim Farley a good driver? Do we know?
Well, he's raced with Billy Johnson.
I guess that's true.
They have
I
raced,
guess that's true.
And he is legit from my
Okay.
understanding.
All right.
I mean, Billy's raced side by side with him on the same team.
And so is this?
I think he's legit.
Are we going to like close the ring and put down best lap time? How is this? This is my bigger question: is what is the structure of this supposed race? And then I would love to see somebody challenge him. But the problem is, what other execs out there? You know what the problem is? If he's opening up to car execs, not CEOs, he has a problem with the test driver engineers at Porsche.
He does have a problem.
Some
with
of those guys are
yeah.
hot shoes.
Their test drivers are not executives. They are only employed as test drivers. So where do we draw the line?
That's a good question.
Where's the gray area? Because the executives, there's not many who are drivers.
But who's the guy?
Hire the hot shoes.
I can't think of his name, but who's the guy that's done all the reveals of the GT3 and the GT3 RS that is the Porsche guy?
Andreas Pruniger.
I'm pretty sure that boy can drive.
He can drive.
Him and Jim Farley, that'd be a throwdown.
What about hey, this guy's name is Walter. He was really good at rally in the
Walter
80s.
something.
Royal.
Yeah, that's very funny. I like that. That's
he's
good. Yeah.
Still like an executive.
Yeah, that's very funny.
Yeah.
I don't know.
like that
I think the Porsche execs is where he gets in trouble. I think most of the other brands, I don't know how many of the execs are really good drivers, but be interesting.
Some of the guys in the Corvette program are pretty good drivers.
Yes, they are. Yes,
they
absolutely.
might be able to give him a run for his money. But if he's going to do this, race him in the new Mustang. Let's do a race against time. And you built that new Mustang for the ring, so it has to be on the ring.
You would hope so. Yeah,
let's do it on the ring.
I would love to see this.
Porsche is right down the road. So is Mercedes.
It's about. I'm going to date this podcast, but it's about as likely as Zuckerberg versus Elon Musk. But it's the same kind of thing.
Still,
yeah,
Hyundai.
Anyway, yeah.
The N guys. Let's get those guys over here in something.
Works. Yeah, fair. Okay. Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Right.
Jorge, I love the question. That's really creative, really interesting. What else you got on here? The questions are coming in.
That's
really appreciate it, guys.
Really
Thank
good,
you.
Yeah. The 24 AMG GT SL is the Boxster Cayman of Mercedes from Grady. Okay. All right. I mean, it's bigger. That's the issue. Do we know a weight on that car yet?
I did not see a weight.
I'm curious about a weight.
Yet.
I think that thing's going to be the better part of 4,000 pounds. That's my concern. It's going to be
think
3,800 or up there.
I mean, it's SL underpinning, so it's already going to be heavy.
Exactly right. Yeah.
But I'm looking at it as a GT car, not.
Yeah.
The Boxster and Cayman to me is definitely more a sports car.
Absolutely,
you can get more performance driving out of both those cars. That GT is that's high speed bomb. I mean, it was built in the land of the ring and the Autobahn.
Yeah.
And
I mean, but it's a
GT car.
But the truth is most people are going to drive that car more in a GT fashion than in a sports car fashion.
For sure.
So it's going to meet its audience.
I don't think Mercedes builds a Boxster Cayman competitor.
They don't. Not really. No. And the truth is they haven't in a while. Yeah.
Let's see.
Jordan, sorry, he's just making me laugh. What in the world would a Lotus Elise T have left? It would only have one seat to begin with. It'd just be driver's seat. Yeah.
We don't need the front clam.
Who cares?
Doors.
But that's pretty much what the topless, well, I can't think of it right now. What is it? The 211, that one that is just the top, that's pretty much what
that's
the Elise T anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anthony G is also asking, what is the single most boring car you've ever driven?
I know what you're going for. Everybody knows what you're going for.
What am I going for?
The Taos.
It's the most boring. Is it the most boring? I guess so, but that's not why I hate it. It's because of the build quality and the lack of attention to detail.
I didn't mean to start a thing. I didn't mean to start a thing. Yeah.
But boring? I'm gonna have to work on that, Anthony.
Speaking of the Boxster, we were talking about lightness. What are your thoughts on the Porsche 718 Boxster EV? I'm very curious to see if Porsche offers Boxster and Cayman in multiple power plants, 4-cylinder, 6-cylinder, and EV. And my big question for all of these potential EVs coming down the pipe is, which one's going to be light? Light matters.
It does.
And because
Absolutely.
electric motors have this constant torque, we have thrown out the need for lightness because we can overcome it with our power. And heavy cars cause so many other issues.
I am a
So
man of
let's go
constant
light.
torque.
Yes, there you go.
You know, I'm looking at hybrids because where is the hybrid version of those cars first before we just go straight EV for a Boxster Cayman?
Sure, yeah.
Unless the batteries are piled up and stacked in such a way to give you the weight transfer that those cars are known for, and I believe they will be, but I like the hybrid. I like the torque feel better. That's the better step. It's the in-betweener step.
Let's see. Devin's asking if he says he's thrilled that the 718Ss are still depreciating like rocks. That's because the 4-cylinder has a ton of power, but now that the 6-cylinder exists, people don't want the Turbo 4. If you want a deal in the Porsche lineup, it's actually the base ones, not even the S. Those have just dropped like stones, and they're tunable. If you want, literally, that's the tuner guys. Porsche is the base 718 Boxster or Cayman. You're not worried about how they sound. I hate to say this, it's like it's the Subaru sound, Subaru tuning mentality in a Porsche body with Porsche dynamics. That's the real deal there.
Here we go. Devin is saying Akio Toyota-san, who goes by the handle Marizo,
that's
in a
good.
GR Yaris Marizo to challenge Jim Farley in the GTD Stang.
And it's going to have to be his old LC 500 race car because the Yaris is going to touch it.
The Yaris can't touch it. Or what
but he'd be a good driver. He'd be a good driver.
What if they resurrect the LFA Nürburgring edition?
Sure. Yeah.
Come on.
You're right. There was an LFA that he drove.
Right?
That's a great one.
He did drive that
that's
car
very
too.
good. Yep.
So something like that.
Let's see. Hybrid Miata. We'll see. Look, the next Miata is bound to be electrified. We've talked about that before. What is that going to be?
Hybridization.
Mazda is going to worry about weight. That is a key thing to the existence of the Miata. They're going to worry about it. I'm very curious to see what it actually is.
Let's see. Richard is asking me what is the right car to take on the Bourbon Trail? A limousine that is chauffeured.
That you don't have to drive.
You don't have to drive.
I see it. Yep.
Seriously, rent a car service. That's what people do in Napa. They just rent an Uber or something, just a car service for the day. I think there's companies that specialize in that kind of thing. So just have something where you don't have to drive. You don't have to worry about it. And when you buy a case of whiskey, you can just put it in the trunk and have it delivered. And there you go. Love it.
McNow is asking, which is better for 60-year-old with hip, back, and knee troubles, a 2015 Corvette with Z51 or a 2016 Cadillac ATS-V? I'm going to guess, you're going to have to climb in both of them. I'm going to guess that ATS-V is going to be easier to get in and out of. That's my guess based on that description for sure.
Jonathan Gower is asking for a track daily crush, Porsche Boxster S, the BMW Z4 twin turbo, or the Mercedes SLK 350 all manual convertibles. Well, you know my love for the Porsche, so I'm going to daily that, and I'm going to probably track the Z4 because that's probably where it'll do the best. Except, you know what? I'm going to daily the Z4. I'm going to track the Porsche, and I'm going to crush the Mercedes. And I
actually agree with you. I'm going to agree with you on that.
Yeah, I like the Z4. Yeah. I like the Porsche better on track. Yeah, there you go.
We're actually making a new piece coming out Thursday talking about our new, and no spoilers to those that happen to know, our new project car.
New project car, everyone.
We have a project car.
It's going to be
we got a long-term loaner. Minimal build because it is us. There's not going to be any like grease-covered videos. But anyway,
no.
But
we headers on this baby.
We have a new long-term car that we have till the end of the year, maybe a little beyond. We're going to do some fun stuff with it. And I've been going through our past long-term series to put together some compilation stuff at the beginning of the piece, and I can't believe some of the stuff we've done. I'm very excited about this one. Can't wait to reveal it. That is coming, actually, that video is coming Thursday to our original channel. We'll talk about it on Friday's podcast, but it's coming very, very soon.
It is not an Isuzu Via Cross.
It is
nor is it a Brat. I wish for those cars in the future. I don't know how relevant those would be.
Nobody's going to watch that.
Them.
I mean, look, those of you that really dig in are going to watch them. But as far as YouTube interest, it's not going to get much, unfortunately. Yeah.
Let's see. Nick F on Facebook is asking our experience with the Generation 3 CTS-V built from 2016 to 2019. I thought that was like 2014, 2015. But nevertheless, that third gen, what are our thoughts? They didn't get much press. It's because it just, even though it had the great engine in it, it's such a big, heavy car, and none of the rest of the interior really held up. It was just an oversized. It wasn't even the four-door Corvette. It was too big and heavy for that kind of thing. It had all the power, but then when you think $95,000 for this, it's astounding on track. The Magna ride makes it come to life, but then that weight cannot be overcome. And it's not like the M2 where you only feel it on exit and you don't feel it at first. You always feel the weight of that car. So therefore, it's just a burnout machine. It's just a Hellcat that doesn't drive as well as a Hellcat. I hate to say it.
Interesting.
Hellcats buried that car. They had more power and they handled better. The suspension was equally good or better. And you're asking me for both. Get a Hellcat.
I'm a big fan of Chevy's CTS and ATS chassis engineers, but I do understand that the Hellcat is, I think, the more interesting choice in most cases. But James Chadwick is saying, other fun driver roads in Colorado other than Highway 550. James, how long do you have? There's a lot of them. There is, it's a scenic loop, and somebody's going to correct me, but it comes out of Boulder, goes up through Netherlands and up to Estes. That is excellent. There is the road that's on the eastern edge of the Rockies. I'm not sure. And then on the western edge of the state, almost to Utah, is one we're doing on our Colorado meetup. It goes through Gateway. Look at the road that goes through Gateway, Colorado. That's another one. There's just two. And in between those bookends, there's a ton. How much driving do you want to do? I mean, look at Google Maps and follow the squiggles. There's a ton of them.
Trogdorf 147 asks if we think automakers will ever reintroduce popular ICE vehicles as EV targets get moved. Trogdor cannot see a situation where Dodge ever says, "We're just kidding," and we started making Hellcats again.
No,
not necessarily, but I'm just wondering. I was talking with Chance about this the other day, and I'm putting this out there as a topic Tuesday, but I cannot put my finger on what exactly it is. But that is, car companies need to go backwards to move forwards, backwards in terms of thinking for style. I mean, BMW is a candidate here, and I wrote down my ideas here. It was about going backwards to stay relevant and still create the new. Like, the future is EV SUVs, but what about future sports cars and fun cars? So are they more divergent than ever before? We've talked about the 5-seat SUV with the battery on the floor that's 4 inches thick, and it's all the same, and they all drive the same. Fine, you've got your thing. But what about here, where we can really start to differentiate and keep fun cars alive and keep them going because they're electrified. They're not EVs. Okay, so that means torque fill, but that means the whole thing is not a battery. Maybe it's just one electric motor. They don't have to be all-wheel drive. So I'm just wondering about the divergence of these to stay relevant, because car companies will always want to build a fun sports car. It doesn't matter if it loses the money. There will always be people who want to build a sports car, a fun car, our brand. For example, what is Jaguar? What
You've asked this question before. You're confused by Jaguar
is the
right
flavor
now.
that
right. It's hard.
That tastes like Jaguar. That is totally Jaguar to me. I totally get it. That just feels like Jaguar. I don't know what that is.
Yeah.
What is Jaguar?
They keep running back to the E-Type, and the problem is the E-Type is completely irrelevant for modern times.
So if they're making more, let's say they're making more sports cars and they're making them they waft. EVs can do that, or some sort of hybridization. But then the SUVs, to me, just seem like it just has a Jaguar badge and they all drive the same, and I don't care. What is the Jaguar flavor? I'm wondering. Okay. So we need to diverge. BMW is a candidate too, especially stylistically speaking. BMW has some great stuff in their portfolio. What happened to the 3.0 CSL Homage and the M8 the M1 Homage cars?
Like, sure, the ones that they dropped at Monterey and then they
build those.
Promptly vanished.
That's right. Don't do anything else. Don't do
stop.
Make those, and everybody will buy them.
Fewer teeth, more of that.
Hi. Sorry for the rant.
Troy 2.
Can we keep this going to Topic Tuesday? I don't know if we can or not. I don't know.
Troy 2S says, looking for best daily driver around 50 to 60K. His head says Lexus ES. Hart wants a 3 Series. The Arteon is a wild card. Arteon is not interesting enough to drive. It's fine. I actually like it. It's not interesting enough to drive. Really wants a fun daily to be reliable for 10 plus years. I see your ES. It's Also not interesting enough. The ES is the Lexus Camry.
You can't say I see that without raising you something. You can't
got-
say
you-
that. What are you raising?
You've got to go GS, which is a little more
Okay.
used. That's at least the better Lexus choice. 3 Series is fine, but watch our Blue Cars episode. You need to drive the Genesis G70 and you need to drive the Alfa Giulia.
Yeah.
Now, I know
Yeah,
somebody
always,
is
yeah.
saying neither of those are going to last 10 years, but I'm sorry, I don't think the Arteon or the 3 Series is going to be problem-free for 10 years either. The only potentially problem-free one is the Lexus brand. So that's the thing. And while you're at it, how much have the V versions of Cadillac things come down? You might be able to find one of those as well.
They're stupid cheap now. You can get
They're getting there.
What if those came down to like $20,000-$25,000 along with Hellcats?
He's shopping with 50 to 60.
Oh, well, then you're good.
Oh, but
you can have two.
You know,
or three
back
of
to that
them.
question earlier about people going back to ICE engines. Dodge isn't going back. The Hellcat motors are going to be to Dodge what the 2JZ was to Toyota. And all of the fans in 10 years are going to be like, make another Hellcat. And they're not going to do it because they're not going to be able to. There won't be regulations. It's the reason the 2JZ didn't get resurrected.
Yeah.
Anyway.
All right, back to Monterey for a little bit. That Birdcage Code 61 by Ken Okiyama. I also just read that he was pulled over for speeding in Japan in a Ferrari Enzo. So, oops. But still, he has brought this birdcage concept. I was thinking about all the cars on the concept lawn. You know, what was my favorite out there? And this is really intriguing because of resurrecting that birdcage concept. And I am also kind of a sucker for Maserati right now. So I do like that. What else? Saw that John Akeda had that new the new Acura concept on the ZDX on the lawn. That looked really good. And a ton of other crazy stuff that I'm just thinking, where do you drive these crazy horsepower cars unless to show them on a lawn and they just kind of sit?
Yeah.
I'd rather see the Valkyrie. I saw Valkyrie sitting in a parking lot. It was the Inn at Spanish Bay and just sitting there like, yes, drive that thing, make it dirty. You know, let's
that's what I'm worried about that new monster Mustang. 86 asks this question. This feels like almost the rest of the conversation. Civic Type R or M2? Now, the problem is that the Civic Type R is MSRP of around 45 to 50, but the way you actually get one post markups is 60 plus. The M2, while not attractive, is in the 60s. So they are touching each other. They shouldn't. There's no reason for these to compete on price, but unfortunately right now in the current market, they do. So I'm going to come down to a couple things. Do you need usable back seats? Instantly Civic. Okay. Do you need to look back and think the car is attractive? M2 struggles there.
I
know
need
it's
to look
personal.
back.
I know it's
have to look at
personal, but that M2 struggles there. The M2 is too heavy. Watch our M2 Camaro and Super piece. The M2 is too heavy, but it is brilliant to drive. It drives very, very well. However, my wild card in this scenario is get yourself a manual Supra. You'll probably spend less than both those cars, and I think you'll be happier.
That's really good. Although I really like both cars, and I could see myself owning an M2 despite how
good.
ugly it is.
It's good to drive. It's not good to be in. I mean, it's good not good to walk up to. It's good to be in.
It's great to be in.
Yeah.
Those seats had me. You had me at seats.
It's
M2.
$14,000 like massive upgrade option. They're good seats.
Yeah, but they're 24 pounds lighter, and you saving weight on a 3,800 pound car already. So that matters. But still, I really enjoyed driving that M2. It was just so astounding to think that this is where technology has brought human beings. This is what weight can do now, everyone. It was astounding.
So many good
Steve M says manual Supers are still being marked way up. That's really tragic. Although we have identified the Road and Track reports, about 47% of buyers for the 2023 manual have opted for the manual, so that's a good thing. But
fight with your dealer, because my question would be between Civic Type R, manual Supra, and M2, which is the one that post markup is actually cheaper? And I wouldn't be surprised if it's the Supra.
Yeah,
I hate to say it, and markups are horrific, but I really wouldn't be surprised.
Let's see. Jeremy M asks if we were to own and drive a replica of some unobtainium model, what would we choose? A replica. I mean, I wish more replicas of Ferraris were built, but Ferrari doesn't really like their cars being knocked off, even at a high level.
They don't like their cars being driven or shown to other people, or, you know, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There are so many regulations about Ferrari.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we've driven fewer Ferraris is because we've actually come across owners who wanted to have us drive their car and then realized it might prohibit their ability to buy future Ferraris, and so they took their car back.
Or it broke.
There's that as well. That we've had
Like
that.
SF90s
Yes.
that break,
Yes.
multiple that have just broken,
Mhm.
and they've just decided to not run, so we can't drive them because they are broken.
There's a whole separate thing.
So I'd go Replica. Gosh, it'd have to be one of the GTs, the 4 GTs, but I was still really happy with that Superformance. The Type 65 Daytona Coupe, the Shelby Daytona Coupe. Those are just special. It's one of those cars that you know it's a replica and it doesn't matter. And you don't care. It's so pretty. It's just tube frame with metal over the top of it, which was the original too. So who cares that the replica looks exactly like it? It's one of those things where it took away the gulf, the divide between only 6 of these exist, the real ones, and they're 20 million each. And drive this one, and it was amazing. So I'd have to say Daytona Coupe.
Let's see. Pokey YJ says there's a continuous push from auto manufacturers to add more and more complexity and technology to vehicles. Seems like the consumer habits would suggest simplification is preferable. You say a la iPhone. I think the iPhone only works here because the iPhone has an ease of use, but there's dense technology there. The problem we've created, and I say we as just car buyers, there's a shift that happens in the 90s. And you can see it in pickup trucks and you can see it in exotic cars. Before the 90s, your pickup truck was low rent. Bench seat, no anything. It was just
no longer.
Seriously, the doors close and stuff works and it's got 4-wheel drive running gear and we're done. And your exotic car was your feet are off to the side and the air conditioning doesn't work and I can't see out of these windows and I'll never be able to go through a drive-through and I can't back up at all. And in the 90s, both of those started to be, well, hang on, we need to make them usable for more people. And so they both became really nice. Jump forward to now, pickups are luxury cars. And frankly, so are exotic cars. People are worried about, do I have Apple CarPlay? And look, I'm saying I like this too, but do I have Apple CarPlay? Does the air conditioner work?
Yeah.
Can I see when I back up in my exotic car that I only drove to Cars and Coffee? But the problem is, this is where all the weight comes from and the complexity. And now we want, because we have these phones, we want our car to do all the stuff our phone does or to duplicate our phone. And then you have Mercedes who's like, you want screens? I'll give you screens. So I don't think that there's going to be any going backwards unless it is, and you were already there, unless it is replicas or kit cars that are built for the 5 people on the planet that want something that drives like a Lotus Elise.
Okay. Let's see. Sean E asks what we think, who makes the best back seat? It's probably the Accord Hybrid that's in my driveway right now. It's really huge.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. The Civic has more space than Accords from 20 years ago. And that's the Civic. The Accord better be bigger.
The Accord, you're like,
yes,
we should pick people up.
Yeah. I don't even know you, but I got space. Come on.
Jump
Use the
in.
door. Yeah.
Let's see. Philip M says, any plans for me to dump the Ford Expedition and get a new SUV? I would love to. The first thing that is preventing me is sentimentality because it belonged to my dad and it was packed full of family. And I love it when family comes to town and we take it out and fill it full of stuff. And it's turned into an excellent production vehicle.
Yes.
It's surprisingly good. Every time we need it, it comes through. It's so great. It's big and heavy and lumbering, but it's this stable camera platform, which is great.
You put upgraded shocks on it, and it's actually been surprisingly good.
Yeah, I did put Bilsteins on it.
It fully meets the ain't broke, don't fix parameter. And then it has history for you.
It's got history.
So I get it. Yeah.
It just runs. It's great. I mean, if I had my druthers, the other problem is money, of course. But then if I had my druthers, GLS 63S.
But you would spend that money somewhere else. You'd be chasing McLarens. Who are you kidding? Anyway,
I would be chasing McLarens.
Yeah. McNow says, after this, what are we doing? I'm going to have some dinner. Tonight I'm probably done. Well, there's been a lot of editing so far today. We pushed pretty hard, but I think after this we're probably easing off for the day. However, you will edit this for audio for tomorrow. You definitely do that, yeah.
Sure.
And G Weeper 64 says, anyone actually seen a new Z car in the wild? Do they really exist? Not only have I not seen a new Z car in the wild, I hardly ever see prior Z cars in the wild. There was a there,
Yeah,
there's
what's
a
going on.
guy with a really nice 370Z that was at Cars and Coffee yesterday.
Okay.
Okay, and that
Okay.
it looked great. It's
Cool.
track prepped, and we know him, and it's a good car, good guy. But that was the only Z in attendance. Oh, I take it back. Mike had his convertible Z car that's always there, 300ZX. Those were
nice.
That was the Z
Nice.
contingent. Those were the only ones there. And the new car, are they delivering them? I guess they are. There's none around
Wasn't
here.
it paint problems they were undergoing with?
I think it's
not like
just problems.
cars haven't been painted
Yeah,
for a good, I don't know,
agreed.
100 years. So
Mhm.
they, I understand new paint processes and techniques, but still, it seems like they were working out some paint production issues. On
And then
various
Colin's got
panels
the
and-
other point, and that is markup on those so far has been
Yeah.
horrific. So I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either. David M asks for our prediction when piano gloss black interior, the plague, known as the piano gloss black interior plague, will be eradicated. That is when suppliers stop offering it as an option. Designers can spec it all they want. They can spec away, have at it. And the suppliers will say, nope, we're not going to put that in cars anymore because we've moved on to better materials that don't scratch and get thumbprinted so easily. So I'm hoping the suppliers come through. Who works for a supplier? Let's get them to stop making piano gloss black.
Shawnee is asking the most fun backseat experience for adults or kids. Rear-facing back seats in the back of a wagon. That's up there. Remember being a kid sitting backwards in the back of the wagon, waving at drivers, trying to get people to honk at you, all that kind of stuff. That is fun.
Drivers would just blind you.
Exactly. Ow, Lasix. Anyway, but the thing is, the back seat is not the place to enjoy the drive. It's just to enjoy the experience. And so I go to things like the Genesis G90 or the big Lexus or the big S class, where you end up with the big executive business class back seats because you're not sitting in the back to enjoy the drive.
Devin Bain comes through with a super chat question. Devin, thank you so much. With modern Ferraris so unreliable, what are aspirational manufacturers?
There's so much coming on that. Anyway, okay, go on.
What are some aspirational manufacturers that won't bleed you dry or leave you stranded after you've owned a Porsche or 3? Toyota Supra.
Okay, but is that an aspirational manufacturer?
Okay, aspirational manufacturers.
That's the hard part there.
Bleed you dry.
Yeah, that's difficult.
It's got to be just under like Maserati or something.
You went Maserati.
I mean, it's got to be, well, it's got to be under that because Maserati's a high price point.
Yeah, but that's kind of what we're thinking about, though. It's that kind of thing.
But I hesitate to say that because it's also Italian and
it's also Maserati. Yeah, I get it.
No experience with their new MC20, but still aspirational.
You're really struggling. I mean, that's the thing. If you look at reliability ratings, Porsche is almost always near the top, and most of these aspirational brands are unfortunately near the bottom. Now, the one thing I will give super props to Ferrari for is because a few years ago, this is back to that transition to cars, the exotic cars needing to be nice. They offered that 7-year, 70,000-mile warranty. Because I guarantee you, many accountants at Ferrari did the numbers and realized nobody's driving these things. How often are we going to have a warranty thing?
Never.
But the flip side is if you're a person who can aspire to a Ferrari and can actually buy one and actually get that warranty, now they've defended you as they should because those cars are awfully expensive. McLaren has had electrical gremlins.
They have, but their new Artura is more production oriented and ready than any of their prior McLarens have ever been. So that's a great thing.
People are throwing out Lotus and Mira. We shall see if it works like the Evora. Then I would say yes. Lamborghini is Audi underneath. So I think here's the thing: if you're buying a Lamborghini product and your reasoning is not to wrap it, put big wheels on it, and make it twice its horsepower from the factory, it will probably run.
Or jump it with 93 miles on the odometer.
The reality is, I don't think most people buying those will do that. Look, my Lotus has been incredibly reliable. The AMG GT, I think, is probably wickedly expensive to keep running, but I doubt random stuff breaks.
Yeah, and Kyle, you added Corvettes. Yes, they are aspirational, but everybody is identifying various cars. The Emira is absolutely aspirational, but Lotus is a brand. The Electra, we'll just have to see. We don't. I mean, this is kind of a new era for almost every car manufacturer. So they have their standouts that are those specific cars that are aspirational, like the M2, like a Corvette, like a 911, like any one of the specific cars that we're naming. But as a brand, McLaren's up there for me.
Okay.
I feel
All
like
right.
there's winds of change and new things. I've become more of a McLaren fan than I ever have in the past, and they're kind of my jam.
Okay. Aaron's asking a question. I feel like there's a couple of questions here, but I'll answer it the most direct way. He says he's curious about the approximate ratio of video production time between planning, filming, editing, final length, or whatever steps he's missing. Aaron, there are so many steps. The planning is fits and starts because we have to try to figure out when the car can land. And that's, there may be a lot of work and then it goes quiet for a while. And then there may be a lot more work. And then up until like the day before the shoot, there's a lot of that extra planning there. Filming, rough estimate for one of our big productions, assume 6 hours of production per car. So if we have 5 cars, a lot of production happens. Sometimes that's not the case, but that's a rough estimate there. Editorial is going to be, probably 80 hours for a big piece, give or take 80 hours worth of editorial. And I'm including going through the footage, editing it, coloring it, mixing it. Let's just assume 80
Taking
hours.
time to send the rest of us clips of things that will never be seen.
Yeah, it's just like, guys,
look at what you just said on camera.
Exactly.
That will never be seen.
That happens too. Though we need to make more of those shorts, but they are funny. But literally some of our bigger pieces like road trips and stuff, the things that are an hour long, that's way over 80. Things that are short are faster. But then, it also depends on the scale of the project. Our road trip took a ton of planning, ton of shooting, is still in edit. But this piece that's coming out Thursday, we shot this weekend.
Yes, because it's the new build car.
Yeah, so that happened fast.
Light build. It's not even a build. It's just I can't wait.
Changes. We're gonna have fun with it.
It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fun. Sir Haji Bob says his Porsche 996 Carrera is making a noise that might be bore scoring. This is after an engine out to replace all the gaskets and the IMS bearing. Please pour one out for you. I am so sorry. That sucks. That doesn't make it not a great car. I mean, the platform itself is a great car to drive. It's just, the engines, Porsche had a problem with those engines, the M96 engines. They just had a big issue with them. And I'm very sorry to hear that. It stinks.
Russell is asking what amount of time I run the Elise with the top off versus on. He's got an 05 and the top is probably off 90% of the time. So much easier on entry and exit. When I bought it, I made sure that mine had a hard top available, like was part of what I bought. And I thought I was going to run it with the hard top 75% of the time. And I'm getting to the rest of your question. The hard top is on maybe 10% of my ownership. I'm amazed at how rarely I run the hard top. And I love having the soft top. Soft top is off when it's cool enough. The problem I have is if it's over about 80 degrees in the middle of the day and sunny, I'm baking in the car, and the car is hot enough as it is. So that's why I like having the top on. But in the cool of the evening or cool of the morning, I love having it off. It's amazing. It really depends a lot on whether you said it's easier on entry and exit. It's unbelievably easier with the top off. And I've joked about this before. One of my favorite Lotus moments ever for the general public was when I pulled into drive-through and the sill comes way down to here. And the window's only this tall, and they've got to hand me stuff. So I popped the top and rolled it back 2 clicks. So I had this big opening.
That's awesome.
For fast food. Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Just drop in the food.
Exactly. Just come here and I'll fix my roof in a minute. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Let's see. Richard says, what used exotic supercar driving experience is worth all the hassle it brings with owning it? You're talking about a driving experience. So not like a Vegas driving experience.
No, he's talking
talking about an ownership.
Which one is worth the hassle? What's worth the struggle of having it as an ownership? Interesting question.
Richard can't get past what else he could do with the cost, the money, like buy better, less expensive cars. That's been our mantra forever, even though we love all the exotics too, but we want to find exotics that can take the beating. That's why I love Porsches so much. The engines from the 996 Carreras did have some issues, but still, it doesn't seem like any car manufacturer escapes that. Every car company has some sort of bugaboo about whatever model year on that particular car just didn't come together and it wasn't great. So if it's going to be an exotics, I would hesitate Ferrari. I would really hesitate Ferrari. I'm not sold on them.
But this is the difficulty, Richard. This is a sliding scale question. Because the truth is, if you want no hassle in owning something, you're not buying any kind of sports car because it's going to be less usable. It's going to consume things more. You're just going to buy yourself some commute device that we all talk about as being loathsome, and you're going to go on with your life. So where is your personal sliding scale? I think it has to do with your budget and your income. Where's your personal sliding scale for that's as much as I can tolerate? Okay. Because like I love the idea of owning an E-Type, but I'm never going to drive that car often or hard. And I know that the buy-in is way beyond me. And the cost of anything goes wrong is going to be horrifying. But then I think about Matt Farah, who has that Countach that he bought. That if you've ever followed his recent podcast at all, he took it in to, while you're in there kind of servicing, and they've pretty much got the entire Countach apart. We talked about it last time we were on his podcast. They pulled out the engine and the gearbox has to come with it. It's this weird fishing thing. It's horrifying.
Yeah.
He's taken the whole thing apart. But the truth is, while it's blindingly expensive, the car is worth so much that he's like, we may as well fix it. So where is your sliding scale? Now that's weird because that's a super expensive car and it's going up in value. So there's lots of things there. Jay Leno, I know I'm in the high end, has talked about the same thing with McLarens. The McLaren F1 is now so expensive that guys have started driving them because they're going up in value. You may as well spend the money. But you and I bulk at something that's over 60 grand because what if it costs me more than that? I will say a V12 manual Ferrari is worth the hassle, but bring the cash.
Okay, so Mondial, that is the Ferrari that I will recommend. Okay. Mondial with V8.
Somewhat cheap.
You're still going to put money into it. Yes, it's exotic by virtue of the care and feeding you have to put into it. That makes it exotic. But the reactions when you say yes to people's question, hey, is that a Ferrari? And you get to say yes.
You're not driving a Lotus and they're confused. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You are in a different category. That's it. Mondials. I'm attracted to them because they are so cheap and you don't have to put the money. Well, you do. It's exotic, but it's a cheap exotic.
What do we think is the cheapest entry into something with Magna Ride? Vets have had it for a while. The Chevy SS has got it. That's a good one as well. Those are both very good. Mandy is wanting me to call out the Discord. If you'd like to continue having many, many discussions, our Discord is something that happens for all of our patrons. Go to our website. You can actually get on Patreon, and that gives you access to the Discord. And that is a whole life of its own. That's a whole ecosystem that you and I drop in on and go, wow, it's grown since the last time we were here, which is like the day before for me, but still, it's very cool.
Let's see. Ryan Stamp is saying to me that I just stated all manufacturers are resetting. So the question is Ford going back to its roots and just producing cars for the masses, excluding the Mustang? Yes, I see it in their business plan. I see it in Blue Oval City. The more that I read about Blue Oval City, it's entirely designed to spit out the 5-seat SUVs that are all EVs. And that is resetting to their roots in a way because they're just huge mass production. Just that's got to be bread and butter. I mean, the truck is F-150 is not their roots necessarily, but it kind of is because they made it for so long. I mean, that just comes right out of the factory and they just sell those trucks. I kind of feel like all the options that are on the table and continue to be explored. I'm doing a lot of reading about solid state batteries now and really understanding more about what could be and the potential for that, which is amazing. However, we're not there yet. So my question to all of you is, what happens between then and now, that space of all the EVs that are going to be built with lithium ion batteries? What's going to happen to all those cars? Because, okay, they'll still be around, but I don't want the low range and the used battery that car represents. So no, I'm not going to buy that. I want the newest, hottest, latest technology. So I think every car manufacturer is going to apply new technologies because it's coming at us so quickly. They're going to apply it differently. Mazda is going to apply it completely differently to the Miata. They have to.
They're going to have to.
Obligated to.
Absolutely. In order to keep that car, anything connected to the roots. Yes.
Everybody will apply it differently. And so we're entering a different age, but I see a lot of future promise from all this because manufacturers will do different things. I mean, Honda and Acura with the ZDX, that's built on GM's Ultium platform. Does that mean it will drive just like the Blazer and the Lyriq and whatever comes from Buick and all
have the same chassis?
The Silverado EV and the Hummer. And
this is a problem, yeah. So Haji Bob says, any fast blasts in the work? I want to clarify this. Our fast blasts were something we did for our original channel, and that became what we do on Test Drive. We now call them Test Drive. There's one every Sunday. Let's see. The last one was the Alfa Tonale on this channel just yesterday, actually. And this coming week, here's a spoiler. This coming week, we have our wrap up of this year's awesome pilgrimage trip. If you went on pilgrimage this year, you've been wondering where your video compilation is. That is coming this week, and it's really very, very good. That's coming soon. Yeah.
If you didn't go on the trip and you're wondering, could I be in that video in the future? Yes, you can.
It's not the reason to go on the trip, but you can be in the video. Yes.
That's the only reason.
That's the only reason to
pay
go.
all the money.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're on track, but that's irrelevant. You just want to be in the video. You can do that too. So
man.
It's designed to make it so we want you to be there.
Devin Bain is calling out Ferrari 308s. Yes, those are pretty interesting, though I feel like they're still going up. 308s, 328s, everything's going up. It's unbelievable how much things have grown. But anyway, I have not seen, Carlos, the Gran Turismo movie. I can't take it seriously. I can't take it seriously. I keep seeing Orlando Bloom, and I instantly jump to Lord of the Rings, and I'm just like, really, this is where we are. I just saw it advertised as Rocky with cars. That's a big no for me. No, that's a desperate attempt to get non-car people to go.
Is Stallone in the film?
He's not.
So,
but it's a desperate. I can say, hey,
Rocky with cars and
structurally,
racing.
I can totally see it. It's
Rocky
your underdog. You've got your training montage. You've got your old craggly guy that says you're never going to do it, even though he's not old and craggly. He's David Harbour. But anyway, you've got all these people that are saying, "Kid, you'll never make it. This isn't for you." Structurally, it's very similar, and it's a desperate attempt to get people that will go to a boxing movie or think Rocky's amazing to go to a movie about cars, because to the person that's not a car person, it's a movie about racing. I don't care about racing. I'm not going to go. I hate to say it, but that's the truth. I just think it looks goofy. I hate to say it.
Enter the conversation, and I know it's going to be bad because it's a car movie centered around cars. There's no car movie. Even Le Mans with Steve McQueen was, back in the day, it was amazing filmmaking, but now by today's standards, it's kind of slow. Things don't move very quickly.
They had to go through director number 2 because Steve was out there still shooting races again, and nobody had worried about things like, plot and script.
It's true. It's thin on those kinds of things. It's really thin. It's still amazing.
It's cool to see, knowing how it was made, but when like the major dramatic moments are one driver looks at the other and goes, you got problems. I mean, you got issues. I'm just saying.
Just the 2 fingers. That must be the Wrangler wave. I got that when we had
the
392 Wrangler.
Maybe it is. Yeah.
I was like, hey, they acknowledge me. Sweet.
Lord of the Nürburgring. Thank you, Aaron. That's very, very good. Yeah.
All right. Let's see.
Gran Turismo movie. Sorry. It's just,
it's going to be bad. There are no movies with cars. Fast and Furious is an ode to bad movies about cars. That's like leading the pack. But then all the rest of them, it's like a graveyard of bad movies.
Ford versus Ferrari is excellent.
Okay, that is the stand-up.
But
thank you.
But here's
thank you for the salve.
Rush from Ron Howard. Ron Howard is a very interesting filmmaker. If you look up Ron Howard on IMDb and look at the stuff he's done, I'm struggled to see any modern filmmaker who's worked in more varied genres or settings than Ron Howard. This is the guy that made Far and Away, Western Land Rush movie, Apollo 13, and Rush. Just those 3.
Okay.
Forget Backdraft and a bunch of other stuff he's done. But
anyway,
But Rush is a fantastic historical film about real things that went on in racing. But because it's an old car racing movie, by and large, nobody went. So you wind up with Gran Turismo having to be sold as Rocky with cars. Because Rush
so we have
very
2.
good.
It is very good. I forgot about that. So we've got 2 movies that are, and I just read from 86 on here about Days of Thunder Revived. Since Tom has now done Top Gun.
Oh, he comes back.
2. He comes back in Days of Thunder 2. Let's do all the catalog.
This is what the Brad Pitt movie, F1 movie, is going to be.
I hope it's not an embarrassment.
He plays the older guy. He plays, if you will, the Maverick. The old Maverick in the F1 movie. That's exactly how it's set up.
But that's for F1. Let's have NASCAR and Tom Cruise back doing Days of Thunder 2. He's the crusty mechanic.
I'm bringing it full circle because Stallone did a car movie where he did exactly what Brad Pitt's doing in the F1 movie. That was Indy cars. It was Stallone. He's going to come back. By the way, Stallone is not built like a rock climber. I'm looking at you, cliffhanger.
No.
And he's not built like an F1 driver. And he comes back in what was it called? Driven. And he's the big mentor. And then that's exactly what Brad Pitt's going to do in this F1 movie. He's going to play that role.
Hopefully it doesn't suck. We'll see. Let's see. Oh, and Jordan says the car chase in the beginning of 6 Underground was a blast. Jordan, did you know there was a Maserati Quattroporte in there? It gets totally wrecked. It's just decimated.
When
but
it
was
tumbles,
in
you
there.
can see the cage.
You can see the cage, in
which
there,
is
yeah,
really cool.
But
Yeah, yeah.
Quattroporte was awesome.
You're right. That
Excellent.
Jordan, that's one of my all-time favorite car chases because Michael Bay, here's the thing. He went to Art Center where you went.
Yes.
And then he went out, he left Art Center and he became like the go-to guy for TV commercials for car makers. And he was on like contract with BMW for a while. When BMW was doing their ultimate driving machine stuff, he was their guy. And so I still think that if you watch any Michael Bay movie, and you may have seen some, you watch any Michael Bay movie, when they are at their height, is anytime it gets a car chase. Then they're awesome. They're really good. Very strong.
Transformers is like a Pepsi commercial with robots from space.
Yeah, well.
What was the Clive Owen series for BMW? Who did that? Who directed those?
All kinds of people. That was the gag. Frankenheimer and David Fincher, and every single one was directed by a different guy.
Those were interesting.
Yeah,
those are 20 years or more older.
They're really,
now,
really good.
Those were the higher. Thank you, Devin. Yes, that was fantastic. But that was, it wasn't necessarily about cars. It was BMW heavy, but there was actually a plot to it. It was actually pretty interesting.
Well, it was also the thing that really launched Clive Owen to another category too. Which
yeah,
is really
we need to go revisit that because I just need something to clean out the car movie brain here.
Oh man.
Let's see. Holy moly, we're already at the top of the hour.
We are. We got a few more to do, but it's great stuff. Here. Baby Driver is another excellent car movie, even though it's a heist movie.
I couldn't get through that movie.
Really?
I couldn't get through the first 20 minutes
of Baby Driver.
Baby Driver,
not the driven one with
Baby Driver.
Really, I'm sorry.
I turned that off.
Okay,
I
all right.
could not get through it.
That's
I'm sorry, Devin.
Good, but okay, all right. It's also really funny to me that in the opening scene of that movie, they used 3 different WRXs to be one WRX because they had to have special WRXs that would do things like rear-wheel drive drift.
No,
they like built specific ones to do specific stunts, which is very, very cool. There's some great driving in that movie.
Okay, so we need best villain car. Villain car. I still come back to Ronin. That movie is a definitive great movie. It's not a car movie, but the car chases in that are definitive. Still to this day, and they were real too. That's what made it special. So it would be the M5 and the lead, and oh yeah, Jean Reno stands up out of the sunroof of the brown Mercedes diesel and fires a rocket at the car.
Yeah, you keep coming back to that. That's really,
so
really
good.
Funny. Somebody is throwing shade at Oppenheimer, and the weirdest thing about Oppenheimer, Anthony, is I will say this: it is really not a movie about dropping a bomb, which you'd think that's what the movie's about.
Admit I have not seen it yet.
Really not about that. And if you kind of go in expecting that, then the whole bomb dropping part of it is like it's like a side plot. Which is not what you expect. So yeah, I get where you're going. I see your thinking. I think it was excellent though.
Let's see. Aaron Butler saying of the early 1980s poster cars, Testarossas, 959s, and Countach, the Testarossa is the only 5-figure car today. Is it the cheap 1980s hero or justly priced for not being very good? See, I love the Testarossa. That is one of my faves.
Watch our really inspiration piece that we did for TV. That was me driving the E-Type and you driving the Testarossa, and us talking about the influence that those cars had on us. That piece is on YouTube and actually it's one of the ones I'm most proud of. It worked out really, really well. And you say some great things about the Testarossa. I really think it is unloved in that group. I think it is much better than people suspect it to be.
Yeah, and it's got the Ferrari Monterey Car Week overlap, so it's like including Testarossas in the absurd pricing now that they're just shooting up in value now, which is crazy. So
if we have a pool of Porsche, do we have a font of Ferrari or the lake of Lexus? Possibly, except I think that the thing about the pool of Porsche is when people enter, they don't leave. Once people find Porsche and decide all they'd like to do is buy Porsches, I feel like there's no talking them out of a Porsche product. All they want to do is buy Porsche.
This guy.
And I do feel like guys that buy Ferraris typically see the issues with a Ferrari or other brands. They're like, even if they keep buying them, they're like aware. But
the fact that they break, you're talking about, is that one of the issues? That they break?
Easy. There's a whole subplot going on here. But anyway, yeah.
Hybrid electric power system failure.
Colin is asking a very interesting question that could be another 20 minutes. I'm not going to go that far, but he says, is more engagement always better for enthusiast cars? At what point does engagement overstep enjoyment and become an annoyance? Colin, the three of us, Paul and I and Chance, have debated this heavily of late because we have the C8 which is heavy and fantastic to be in and great to road trip in, and the counterpoint to my Lotus. And we have my Elise.
Yes.
And because of our recent road trips and recent shoots, all three of us have driven my Elise. And Chance has one of the loudest exhaust street cars I've ever encountered.
Yes. It's loud.
And he gets out of my Elise and goes, "That's just too much for me," which I think is hysterical, by the way, that happens. But I get in it, and I'm very sound sensitive, and I actually think it's amazing. I just deal with it. I put on my headphones. I call it a day. And you appreciate it, but you're always happy to get out. So among the three of us, we are all obsessed with cars. We're all obsessed with cars giving us sensations when we drive, but yet just among us, and we're also all the same size guys. That's the other thing that's interesting. And yet just among us, who fits in what, who prefers what, varies a lot. I do think for the average person, there is a very low tolerance, which is why most sports cars and supercars have gotten so staid and so distant, because the average person wants their sports car to be as cosseting as their luxury car, and it shouldn't be that way, but they want that because they got used to it, and now they're like, why, this rides rough and it's loud, and why does the transmission do that? And so this is the problem.
I told you years ago, I was at a car show and I overheard two people talking about the latest Ferrari. It was on the stand, and one of them commented, said, "Look at that interior. It's nowhere near as luxurious as the Mercedes. I'd totally get the Mercedes." My jaw hit the floor. I just couldn't believe that's what I heard, but that's where we were.
And yes, Vampire Bear, Guy Ritchie did the one with Clive Owen and Madonna because they were married at the time. They aren't married anymore, but they were at the time. And that is one of the funnier ones because Madonna agrees to kind of be abused over the course of that. She ends up being this super diva. And so he drives really aggressively and throws her around the car because it's Guy Ritchie and she was married to him and it was early on in their marriage and she agreed to it. And that one is very, very funny if you can find it.
Guys, thank you so much for all your questions. If we've missed something in here, we really, please keep asking. We post for questions on Mondays and Thursdays, for publication on Tuesdays and Fridays. And the live streams are every 25 episodes of the podcast. So you've hopefully noticed that by now. And they're appearing here on our Test Drive channel.
And here's the thing, the next live one, of course, not only will that be 850, but that is the crazy one where it's questions, no cars. That one gets nuts. So we'll brace ourselves for that. But we actually like doing these lives. It's not something we can pull off all the time, but we like doing them. Thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for the super chats that happened. And it's just great to have you with us.
Yeah. Thank you for sticking with us all the way through to the end. And a big shout out to our friends at Griot's Garage. They truly make the best products. And it's fun to tell my neighbors about Griot's because they see my car. I can't get anything done. People... This is where we're at.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm the car guy in the neighborhood. I know you're the car guy in your neighborhood.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
And I'm out there washing and people come by and they're looking at the Corvette or they're looking at something and I get to tell them about Griot's and what great products.
Well, here's the thing. I actually was headed to Cars and Coffee yesterday with my son and the Lotus was filthy from the last time we shot it. And
did you do it the Cannon Blast? Did you do the...
I literally did just, there's multiple products. I literally did just the one that is just the cleaning product. Sprayed that off, dried it down, 15 minutes.
You didn't even do the gloss over the top of it?
Car looked brilliant.
Wow.
And this is my style of cleaning. Paul's style of cleaning, it's going to look a level I can't even fathom. My style is we need to get stuff done. I got to get out of here. And it still looks great, which is awesome. Yeah.
Please join the Discord and really appreciate all your patronage. Share the podcast and please rate and review. Thank you guys for listening. Looking forward to next time.
Thanks.
Cheers, everyone.